Hi everyone, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. In today's video, we are going to be doing a direct comparison, a direct side-by-side application, talking about the similarities, talking about the differences between two iconic foundations. The MAC Studio Radiance Face and Body Radiant Sheer Foundation and the DIOR Backstage Face and Body Foundation. I am in love with the DIOR Backstage Foundation. I've spoken about it quite a lot on my channel, but the reason I wanted to do this video is because I get asked about the similarities and differences between these two all the time. If you absolutely love the DIOR, are you going to love the MAC? And vice versa. So we're going to get straight on with that today. If you are new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload 2 to 3 videos here on YouTube every single week. And I'm also on Instagram if you fancy following me across over there as well. It's at Pampered Wolf, all lowercase, no spaces. If you really like this video, by the end of it, I would really appreciate it if you would click on that subscribe button and come and join the Pampered Wolf Pack. They are a super friendly bunch. And also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Okay, so I did a review not so long ago about what I thought was the brand new MAC Studio Radiance Face and Body Radiant Sheer Foundation. It turns out that the ingredients for this are exactly the same as the old formula. The last 4 ingredients are in a slightly different order, but still MAC have confirmed that this is the original formula. It's just been repackaged and renamed. So if you were in love with the old formula, you also should be in love with this one as well. So no need to panic. Got that slightly wrong, or rather, I was misinformed by a MAC member of staff, so I'm not, completely blaming myself, but I apologise anyway. So before I do a little bit of bump on these, let's just have a look at the packaging. So both are extremely similar. Both come in a plastic squeezy tube. Both have a nozzle on the end. I'll show you that in just a second. The DIOR Backstage is slightly more of a frosted plastic finish, whereas the MAC Face and Body is more clear. Both bottles I really like. The caps are completely different, obviously. The DIOR one is more metallic and the MAC one is a black plastic. The MAC will set you back £27 and you get 50 mils worth of product. You get the same amount of product in the DIOR Backstage, but it's going to set you back slightly more at £29.50. This one comes in 38 shades. This one only comes in 30 shades. Now, I say only. 30 shades is really decent, and I find that the spectrum of shades in the MAC Face and Body is actually better than the selection of shades, even though there's more shades to choose from in the DIOR Backstage. I really struggle to find my shade in the DIOR Backstage, whereas, I can get my shade quite easily in the MAC Face and Body. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. The MAC Face and Body will give you a sheer to very light medium coverage. I would say more full light coverage than low medium coverage possibly. So it is buildable, but not as much as the DIOR. So the DIOR will give you from sheer all the way up to full coverage if that's what you want. They are both waterproof foundations, but the DIOR Backstage is heat, humidity, sweat, and water resistant. So if you like working out in the gym in a foundation, this is probably the one that I would go for. The MAC Face and Body will give a radiant natural finish, whereas the DIOR Backstage will give you more of a natural matte finish. So again, completely different. Both of them are very lightweight on the skin. Both of them are long wearing, although the MAC Face and Body says it's up to 8 hours, whereas there's no time frame on the DIOR Face and Body. Both of these have some sort of fragrance in. The MAC Face and Body, I can't smell the fragrance in it, so if you are sensitive to any sort of fragrance, you may still be able to get away with the MAC Face and Body, whereas the DIOR Backstage is super strong fragrance. It has fragrance in here, but it also has essential oils in here. It's got limonene, citronellol, and also linalool, so if you are sensitive to those ingredients, this is definitely one to give a miss. These say that they are suitable for all skin types. I'll go into that in a little bit more depth when I'm showing you how I apply both of these, but I don't think that's actually the case. I would say that although I agree that these are versatile for different skin types, If you have a seriously dry skin or a seriously oily skin, you are going to have issues with one or the other of these foundations, and one will probably suit you more than the other. The MAC Face and Body is ultra hydrating, it's alcohol free, but it does contain talc, whereas the DIOR Face and Body, it doesn't contain talc, but alcohol is the third ingredient on the inky list, so definitely something to consider. Let's get some of this on. Okay, let's have a look at the consistency of both of these products. Both are very, very similar. They are liquid to the touch and they do run down the back of the hand. So very liquidy in consistency. I would say that the DIOR Backstage is slightly thicker than the MAC Face and Body. That is really the only difference, but very, very fluid formulas. With regards to how you would apply them both, let's have a look at the MAC Face and Body. So it is really, really important that you apply this well, and I've just recently done a review on this and I didn't apply it with my fingers. Believe me when I say finger application with this is the way to go. You have to warm this up in the fingertips. So I would pour some of this out into the palm of my hand, warm it up between my fingers before I apply it with my fingertips. Definitely the best way. It feels very fluid on the skin, but then all of a sudden it locks to the skin and you can definitely feel the thickening process happening as you're massaging it into the skin. So like I said, you can apply this with a sponge or a brush, but if you apply it with your fingertips, it's like the formula is activated and it just works better on the skin. This is definitely a buildable formula, but it's slower to build than the DIOR Backstage Face and Body Foundation. Now, the DIOR Backstage you can get on really quickly and get decent coverage out of it immediately, whereas the MAC Face and Body is slightly a slower operation, but it's definitely worth persevering with it. So this definitely gives a Your Skin But Better finish to the surface of the skin. It's very beautiful, it's radiant, it's very natural, very, very flattering on my skin. The one thing it won't do is airbrush those imperfections and airbrush the pores. So I don't feel like it accentuates my pores or my imperfections, but I don't feel like it airbrushes them out and makes them a lot less noticeable. So if you're wanting a foundation that is going to airbrush your pores and make your pores look smaller, then this foundation probably isn't going to be for you. This also isn't as long wearing as the DIOR Backstage for me, and it all depends on what tasks I'm completing throughout the day. So if I'm just sat at a desk editing, this will last beautifully for 8 hours, possibly 10, look absolutely superb. But if I've got a really busy day and I'm darting from here to there, you're looking more like 6 to 8 hours before it starts to look a little bit too shiny and I'm having to blot it. Another thing about this foundation that's different to the DIOR is that this is not transfer resistant for me. It transfers onto absolutely everything. It doesn't settle into any fine lines or wrinkles though. It looks very flattering on a more mature skin, but I do need to powder this in place to get extra longevity out of it. So if I'm wanting it to last for a considerable amount of time, if I'm not wanting to blot this throughout the day, I do need to powder it in place. So let's move on to the DIOR Backstage. You can apply this with your fingers, you can apply this with a brush or with a sponge. The sponge can be damp or it can be a dry sponge if you're wanting to amp up the coverage. I prefer to apply this with a damp sponge because I don't want super coverage. Super coverage really isn't my thing. If you're wanting super coverage, you can definitely still get that with a damp sponge though, but you'll have to build it up in a couple of layers. I find that unless you apply very, very little at once with this, you're gonna get coverage pretty much immediately. So that's definitely a huge difference to the MAC Face and Body. You are gonna get coverage and you're gonna get it immediately. This is still really, really natural though. It's a very, very natural finish, a very skin-like finish, and also very, very flattering on my skin. This gives a soft matte second skin finish and is touch dry pretty much immediately. It doesn't take much drying down. This, very similar to the MAC Face and Body, does not look heavy on my skin at all, although I do feel like the MAC Face and Body looks slightly lighter than this does on my skin. Again, it's super, super long lasting, much more so than the MAC Face and Body. I've had this on my skin for well over 12 hours before and it's still all been intact. This is also transfer resistant, it's gym proof, it's waterproof, so slight differences between this one and the MAC Face and Body. I would say the DIOR Backstage is more bulletproof than the MAC Face and Body. This also blurs imperfections and pores, so if you are wanting your skin to look a little more perfect, blur those imperfections, make those pores look a little smaller, the DIOR Backstage is the one for you. This, once again, very similar to the MAC Face and Body, doesn't sit in any fine lines, it also doesn't sit in any pores. However, this one doesn't look as good over my dry areas as the MAC Face and Body. The MAC Face and Body, with it being so hydrating, you cannot see those drier areas at all. Whereas, although this doesn't emphasize my dry areas, you can slightly see my drier areas slightly more. Having said that, I don't feel the need to set the DIOR Backstage in place. It wears absolutely beautifully on me without any powder whatsoever. So, personal preference, you can set it in place if you want to, but I just don't feel the need. Whereas when I've got the MAC Face and Body on, I do feel the need to powder that in place to dull the sheen down a little bit because it's slightly too shiny for me throughout the day, and also to increase that longevity. So let's have a look at these side by side once the makeup has freshly been completed. So you'll see very up close and personal that the MAC Face and Body is super hydrating. It's got a beautiful sheen on the surface of the skin. You cannot spot any dryness on my skin whatsoever, but it's slightly less coverage. If we move on to the DIOR Backstage side, you will see that you can see a tiny bit of my dryness on this side. It still looks really lightweight, definitely not cakey, but it's slightly more coverage. I would say that both sides look like a second skin. You wouldn't bump into me on the street and think that I'd got loads of makeup on my skin. It's pretty much undetectable on both sides, but the DIOR Backstage, slightly drier around that chin area, but more coverage. So I'm going to show you what both of these foundations look like after 8 hours of wear, and you are getting completely untouched 8 hours of wear here. So I haven't blotted either side of these foundations, so you can definitely see the difference. You'll see from the MAC Face and Body side, still dryness, undetectable, still looks beautiful on the skin, but super shiny. But because this is such a lightweight foundation, it still looks beautiful on the skin. Definitely a personal preference whether you want that much glow though. And you can blot this in place without too much of the foundation lifting. And once you've blotted this in place, it just gives a second life to the foundation. Let's move on to the DIOR Backstage side. You can see that it is slightly shinier, but nowhere near as shiny as the MAC Face and Body. It's worn really well. It's all intact. It still looks like skin. It's really, really beautiful. So just before I wrap this up, let's talk about skin type and which one I feel would suit each individual foundation. The MAC Face and Body, definitely for those super dry skins, normal skins, and possibly combination skins at a push. If you've got quite a lot of oil in that T-zone, this might not hold up very well for you. Let's talk the DIOR. Super fantastic for anybody with a slightly dry skin, a normal skin, a combination skin, and also an oily skin as well. But if you have super oily skin, you may have to blot this a couple of times throughout the day. Love both of these. I can't pick between the two. I would wear them both for different occasions. You can also mix both of these in with other foundations or tinted moisturizers if you're wanting to give them a slightly different edge. Because they're quite loose formulas, it's really easy to mix these in with other things. So if I'm wanting to give a little bit more coverage to my tinted moisturizer, a little bit more wear, I would mix some of the DIOR Backstage in with it. If I'm wanting to loosen off a really heavy foundation, give it a bit more radiance, I would mix in the MAC Face and Body. So which one do you think looks better on my skin? I love them both. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Also, let me know which one you feel looks more flattering on your skin, which one's more versatile, and give me reasons why you prefer one over the other, and share your knowledge with the rest of the pack. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.